Thank you very much. I give the word directly to Dirk. Dirk, you lead a school dedicated to engineering social technology for responsible digital future. So I guess you have a clear view of the future and the excellence of the experience you can mention.
So I personally believe not only science is important for our future, but also serious games, gamification, first of all, participatory opportunities. And so I'm talking today about a climate city cup to help solve the world's problems. We all know we're faced with serious sustainability issues. And in fact, that's why we have those UN sustainability goals, quite a number of them, and we'd like to achieve them by 2030. It will be very challenging. And there are basically two classical pillars to achieve those goals. Pillar one is nation states and the United Nations, which is of course located here also in the city of Geneva. And pillar two, on the other hand, is global corporations. But both of them are apparently not powerful enough to manage this huge transformation towards a sustainable world within the time remaining. And as already the mayor of Geneva has said before, we are facing this problem that in fact, people are now protesting against the measures that need to be taken. And some of them are trying to obstruct measures, and others are pushing very hard for measures to be taken by politics and by businesses. And in fact, time is late. So what to do? We eventually understand something needs to be done, but apparently we don't know how to achieve our goals within the remaining time. So we need additional complementary instruments, and therefore I'm proposing this evening a pillar 3, countering global problems in a bottom-up and participatory way, unleashing the power of civil society, City Olympics or a climate city cup, for better climate, energy, sustainability, and resilient solutions. So basically the point is we would engage every few years into friendly competitions between cities and regions around the world. And there would be these different disciplines like improving the climate, reducing energy consumption, coming up with more sustainable and resilient solutions, solidarity, peace, whatever is important could be disciplines. And then all the stakeholders in every city and region, and in particular civil society, would be invited to make innovative contributions addressing those challenges. So it would be like an extended hackathon, a mega hackathon that extends over several months, and there would be new solutions. Cities would give some money for this, and in the end, however, the solutions would be open source and Creative Commons. It means every city could take any of those solutions developed around the world, and companies could take them and develop them further. We could combine them with each other. So it's not just about competition, it's also about cooperation and bringing the best ideas around the world together, making progress in a new way. And I call this globalization, a new paradigm of globalization where we would think global, but we would act local and diverse. We would make experiments. We would learn from each other and we would help each other. So it's not the everyone against everyone game that we know from previous time. We need to manage this transition together. And so we've been pushing for this idea of a climate city Olympics. We've had 2 workshops in Vienna for this, and there were quite a number of people around the world invited and participating in the development of this idea. And so now we want to push for the Climate City Cup just today we have actually been meeting within the framework of Open Geneva in order to elaborate this idea further and talk about possible disciplines, challenges basically. So mobility, of course, would be one of them. So basically biking or cycling, we could say, cycling and recycling, and also, of course, renewable energies and sustainable living all together. And like to give you an insight into some of our work that we are doing at ETH Zurich and beyond, with the involvement also with international scientists and people who are interested. We just had this forum where we are aiming to build a multidimensional, participatory, socio-ecological finance system, or multidimensional real-time feedback and coordination system, or incentive system if you want. So we're talking here about participatory sustainability because we need to unleash the transformative power of civil society. And so imagine we would use sensors as we have them in our smartphones, but also altogether the Internet of Things, where we can use very cheap sensors to measure things around us in a privacy sensitive way, of course. So we could map noise, we could measure CO2, we could measure waste of all kinds. We could also take into account unemployment and other things that we'd like to reduce, and good things that we'd like to increase, like new jobs, health, the environmental conditions, education, and the reuse of all those different resources. And so basically, just imagine we would have different bank accounts to measure this, or different currencies. So basically, we would have a multi-dimensional money system, but coupled to those measurements of the externalities, that means the external effects of human action that we create. And in this way, we could come up with feedback effects. We could incentivize certain kind of action. We could incentivize, for example, sustainable production or socially friendly production. You could earn some of those currencies with that, while today it's actually expensive to produce in an environmental friendly way. So those companies that spend less on environmental friendly production would have more profits and they would grow more quickly, and that's why we have not enough companies who engage more into sustainability. This system would create new market forces. That means we're not talking about more rules and regulations. It's about incentivizing these kinds of actions that we'd like to see more in our society and economy. So we would basically have, with this multidimensional incentivization system, a way of steering our economy and society into the direction where we really want to go. Our current money system is not doing this well enough. And in this way, we could really turn supply chains eventually through a co-evolutionary participatory process into a circular economy and a sharing economy. And we have started building this in order to have a demonstration case. In fact, we've been doing this with about 150 students. We've now had the third edition, actually, of this school that is connecting, as I said, Internet of Things with blockchains. And one of the application cases is, well, we have to take care of our environment. For example, make sure that this plant has enough water, right? So suppose we would put a water sensor over there and it would tell people that this plant needs water. Now, in contrast to the Chinese citizen score, which would tell somebody what exactly you have to do, and otherwise you get minus points, so kind of a pretty totalitarian system. This is a system that says, oh, this is a job that needs to be done. Who is going to engage with it and will earn you these incentive points? So this allows for combinatorial innovation, for combinatorial flexibility and action, and this is of course giving much more freedom. Today, we've developed this further at Open Geneva, and we've also worked on combining this system now with the LoRaWAN. This is a wireless citizen-run Internet of Things network. Geneva has actually this network. It's run by citizens. We have that also in Zurich. So in principle, we could now roll out that system. Citizens could buy those sensors. They're very cheap and start measuring CO2 and humidity and emissions of cars and all these kind of things in order to get a better overview of what the situation of our cities and environment really is. And now we want actually to start the first Climate City Cup, and we'll do this summer actually, and will happen in India, Bangalore, the preparations for this cup. And we hope that very soon there would be actually a global movement with Geneva and Zurich and many other cities on board. So these are the founding partners over here. You see there are quite a few organizations on board, like Climate Kick, for example. Swissnex is on board, Open Geneva, as I mentioned, and United Nations also, and ICLAI, that is the leading global network of more than 1,500 cities, towns, and regions committed to building a sustainable future. So I personally believe that smarter cities are cities that engage their citizens, that help them to infuse their ideas and activities and engagement into city life. And so success principles of the future: co-learning, co-creation, coordination, cooperation, and co-evolution. So why don't we do this together now? Thank you.
Thank you very much.